Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on Trees for South Carolina. We're very excited to have you all here today. My name is Karen Firehawk, and I will just be the moderator in the background. I'm joined today by Francis Waite, Director of the Urban and Community Forestry Program for the state of South Carolina, and Matthew Lee, who is Green Infrastructure Center's Director of Forest Conservation, and he'll be giving the main part of the webinar. But for now, I'd like to welcome Francis to welcome all of us.
Hi, I'm Francis Waite with the South Carolina Forestry Commission. I'm the Urban and Community Forestry Coordinator, and I want to welcome everybody to this program. And Matt is going to explain the grant opportunity we have available. So, Green Infrastructure Center is a very important partner to the Forestry Commission.
All right, thanks very much, Francis. Matt, take it away, and we'll let you know if your slides are advancing properly.
Great, thank you, Karen. Thank you, Francis, for that warm welcome. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. This is an informational webinar for us to talk about the Trees4SC program. We're opening the application period to recruit new communities into our final 2 cohorts. And so I'll be talking about the application, how we're going to be scoring communities, and some of the products and services that you all will receive if you are one of the chosen communities. So have you seen my slides advance, Karen?
Yes, you're doing great.
Okay, wonderful. So everybody's in a muted mode, but there is an opportunity for posing questions in the Q&A box, or you can add them into the chat. Karen will be monitoring those and answering some questions in real time as she's able, or we'll also save some questions towards the end. So there'll be an opportunity for people to be unmuted and ask questions out loud if they wish, or you can type additional questions in at the end as well. So this is a program in partnership with the South Carolina Forestry Commission's Urban and Community Forestry Program. The South Carolina Forestry Commission also provides a lot of technical assistance through their regional urban foresters, projects for local governments and organized groups to kind of help you manage your urban forest resources. So they're a key partner, and we really appreciate them being involved in this project. If you're not familiar with who we are the Green Infrastructure Center. We're a not-for-profit organization that helps communities manage their natural resources to maximize them for ecological, economic, and cultural values. And so we do a lot of technical assistance in partnership with the Forestry Commission, as well as other forestry agencies across the country. We map a lot of land cover and tree canopy. We help with strategic planning. We review codes and ordinances, and do a lot of writing, teaching, and training. So you can check out more about our work and our work products at gicinc.org. For this particular program, we have 2 dedicated staff that are in the state of South Carolina. Marcia Potter is our community forest planner, and Tom Knowles is our community forester. So these will be the 2 main GIC team members that will be helping you in the Trees4SC program. We have additional staff that will provide support and other technical services, but these 2 will be your main points of contact and walk you through the program and providing a lot of the services that you'll receive through the Trees4SC program. Our funding source comes from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's U.S. Forest Service. This was funding that was allocated under the Inflation Reduction Act to the South Carolina Forestry Commission. So we'd like to thank the Forest Service and the Forestry Commission for providing these funding sources to allow us to provide these types of assistance to communities across your state. So right now, applications are open for our 3rd and 4th round of comprehensive assistance for South Carolina communities. The team from GIC can work with your city or town to map urban tree canopy, determine planting areas and planting plans for specific sites within your community, actually assist in organizing events to plant trees in your community with community members. We'll review your community's tree codes, policies, and practices, and make recommendations on how they can be improved to better protect or preserve your existing tree canopy in your community. All of this information will be use to create a strategic tree canopy plan for your specific community that can guide your work in building your urban forestry program or planting more trees in your community over the long term. We'll engage residents in the community around local projects at the neighborhood scale, so identifying potential sites or opportunities for more trees to be planted, and all of this will be kind of led by the local residents in that neighborhood, helping us decide where trees are, where they would like to see trees go. And then of course, that community support, continuing to work with the community to build capacity for additional ongoing tree care and tree stewardship into the future. So after the Trees4SC program is over, you'll still have some of that existing community capacity to continue to help manage and care for your tree canopy. So who can apply? These are some of the eligibility requirements. So communities must be either South Carolina cities or towns with a population of 20,000 or greater, according to the most recent US Census data, or a state or federally recognized tribe. So we're setting a population cap or a population minimum, I should say, for communities in these next two rounds. And that's because we have provided a lot of assistance to smaller cities and towns in South Carolina. So we're trying to prioritize larger cities in this next two rounds of cohorts. You must be somebody with the authority or in a position to apply on behalf of your community for this program. And we're looking for communities who are ready to enhance their urban forest and willing to make changes to policies or planting efforts or their programs to increase or protect tree canopy in their communities. So the application process is an online survey. There is also a paper version, which you can reach out to Marcia or Tom to receive a paper copy as well if you prefer. So don't hesitate to do that. It takes about 20 minutes to complete. There's about 35 questions in total. We will review the responses that you put into the survey. We may contact you for additional information. If there's something that's maybe unclear in your application, we may reach out to you and contact you about some additional clarification about your responses. Each community that's selected for the program, there's no cost for your community to participate. So there is no match requirement for this program. So it's a big benefit with no upfront costs for the community other than participation in the workshops and the planning efforts. Once we've received all of the applications and the application period is closed, which is September 15th, we will review and select 6 communities for the remaining 2 cohorts. If your community is selected, we'll be asking you to sign a letter of commitment stating that you agree to actively participate in the program. And we usually like those letters to come from either your mayor or your city manager, somebody with authority that can make that commitment on behalf of your community. The 6 communities will be split into 2 cohorts, so 3 communities in each cohort, with the 3rd cohort starting in early 2026, and the 4th and final cohort starting in early 2027. And we will decide kind of what makes the most sense in terms of which 6 communities are selected and how we can maybe cluster those communities for maximum efficiency in terms of travel and connecting with those communities. There's some things that you need to have on hand before completing your application. So have this information ready before you begin the survey. You may need to check in with your municipal arborist or planning staff or public works to make sure that maybe you have some of these things or you don't have some of these things. Does your locality have a digital tree canopy coverage map or data? And if so, when was it created? So if you have data, but it's out of date, it may be a good opportunity for you all to get new data and understand kind of what the current tree canopy is in your community. Does your city or town have a public tree inventory? And when and where was it collected? Which parts of the city? Does your city have an urban forest management plan or an urban forest master plan? And if so, how old is that plan? Does your city have a storm mitigation plan? Does your city employ an arborist either as a staff member or have a subcontract, with an arborist for services? So don't feel like you're not going to be competitive if you don't have a yes to these questions. The goal of this program is to get you to yes for a lot of these different components. So if you're in the early stages of urban forest management in your community, this is a program that's also meant for you as well. So the goal is to kind of lift communities up to have more technical resources and information to build on urban forestry in their communities. The application should only take about 20 minutes to fill out. It's, again, check boxes asking whether or not you have certain types of technical assistance or types of data. Again, the person filling it out should be authorized to complete it on behalf of their community to receive technical support, grants, or other types of assistance. So we do have a system where we're going to be evaluating each of the applications and assigning point values to them. One of the things that we'll be factoring into the evaluation process is how much existing tree cover is currently in your community. This will be based off of the National Land Cover Database's tree canopy cover data set. So you don't need to find out this information. GIC already has these statistics for all of the communities in South Carolina, and we'll assign these points based on the communities that apply to the program. But communities that have less than 10% tree canopy in their jurisdiction will receive 5 points, between 10 and 20, 4 points, between 20 and 30, 3 points, between 30 and 40% tree canopy, 2 points, and greater than 40% tree canopy, 1 point. This allows us to kind of understand which communities have less tree canopy within their boundaries, and we want to prioritize those communities to plant more trees and get more tree canopy in there for their residents. We are also prioritizing and giving awarding points by the region of the state that your community is located in, and this is based off of how the South Carolina Forestry Commission kind of subdivides the state into different regions. Upstate and Midlands region will receive 4 points, the coastal region will receive 3 points, and the PD region will receive 1 point. And the reason for that is because we've already provided a lot of assistance for communities in the PD region, and so we really want to try and get more communities enrolled into the program and awarded for the upstate, Midlands, and coastal regions. Population rankings, so you have to be at a minimum of 20,000 to apply for these last two cohorts, but we're also awarding points for communities that have higher population numbers. And again, this is to allow for us to provide more of these technical services and get more trees into communities that are going to impact more people. So cities that have larger populations will receive more points than cities that fall between the 20 and 50,000 range population. And of course, you have to be a minimum of 20,000 in order to be eligible to apply for this latest round. We will also assess economic need, and we're going to be using the percentage of your population that's below the federal poverty level. And so we'll use the latest US data to be able to identify that percentage value for your community. So again, this is nothing that you need to research on your own. This is just letting you know how we'll be awarding points for your community based on different criteria. These are things that we'll be assessing based on your application though. So those previous criteria, or GIC will find out that information and award you points based on your location or your population size or how much existing canopy you have. This is where we'll get this information out of your application. So the number of partners that you've identified that could participate in the program alongside the city or town, you'll get 1 point for each outside partner identified. So in other words, let's say there's a garden club in your area and they're involved. Maybe there's a school teacher or a school that is interested in having trees planted on their property, or the school district is interested in having trees planted on school properties. Or you have a tree commission or a tree board that can participate in the program. nonprofit partner, any number of different local community partners that can be participating in the program. We'll assign 1 point for each outside partner up to 3 points. So for example, let's say you identified 5 local partners that could participate in the project. You'll only get 3 points for those 5 partners. The needs analysis will come from your responses to the needs for services, so answering those questions in the survey. The more services that you need, the more points that you'll receive, because this program was designed to help communities that are lacking a lot of these data or technical services to build the capacity in their urban and community forestry programs. So the more services you need, the more points that you will receive for those, up to 6 points. And then intended outcomes. So how you plan on using the data or technical services to further other goals and objectives that you may have in your community. So you can get a total of additional 5 possible points. Some examples for this are, let's say you're currently updating your zoning ordinance and you would find a deeper dive into your tree ordinance with recommendations on how to better protect or preserve trees during the development process, for example, would really benefit this current effort that you have going on, like updating your zoning ordinance. That would be a good outcome or goal for this program, how it would tie into other existing planning efforts that you have going on in your community. So the more of those things that you can outline for us, the better that we can help identify those and assign additional points for outcomes. So the types of services that you'll receive during this program, we'll do a tree code audit. So we'll audit your municipal ordinances to determine whether codes help to protect or preserve existing community forest or open space, or if they tend to promote deforestation or imperviousness. And we'll make recommendations that can be used to update your codes to better protect or preserve that tree canopy. We'll also do some remote sensing analysis of your community to understand the extent of tree canopy and the open space available to plant trees to help you establish a canopy goal for the city or for particular neighborhoods within the city. It includes a full land cover map, so you're not only getting tree canopy data, but you're getting a full land cover data set as well. We'll also do additional analysis of that land cover and tree canopy by areas of interest. So parks, schools, streets, watersheds. We'll look at different areas of interest that you may have that this data can further drive other policy or planning decisions around. We'll use that canopy data to model the ecosystem service benefits that it's providing, such as stormwater uptake, urban heat island mitigation, and air quality. And all of these will create maps to help illustrate that for the community and to identify planting areas to maybe mitigate some of these impacts like stormwater or urban heat. All of the data and analysis that will be done through this program will be compiled into a strategic tree canopy plan that will include the maps and also the feedback through some public engagement efforts that we'll do, and I'll talk about that here in the next bullet. But all of that will be compiled into a strategic tree canopy plan that again can be a roadmap or complement other existing planning efforts going forward, like a comprehensive plan update or a climate action plan or sustainability plan. GIC will be partnering with the community in doing additional community engagement. So we will coordinate and organize with you about what are the best opportunities for doing outreach and engagement with the community. These can be things like tabling at local festivals or community events. We will do an open house as part of the planning effort to share information and solicit feedback from the community around goals and strategies. So there'll be a bunch of different opportunities for Marcia and Tom to engage with local residents in the community through various strategic outreach events. And we'll work with you all to kind of identify what those best opportunities are going forward. And then we'll work with residents in specific neighborhoods to identify and plan and plant tree planting projects. So we'll do some community engagement with residential neighborhood community and identify potential sites where trees could go based on their local knowledge and where they'd like to see trees planted. And GIC will work to organize and identify and purchase those trees for those planting efforts. So these have been the currently funded projects in the first two cohorts. Kershaw, Darlington, and Lake City were in our first cohort. We are wrapping up and doing the last round of tree plantings with them this fall and into next spring. And we're in the process of getting their strategic tree canopy plans graphically laid out. So they're pretty far along, and we're in the implementation phase of doing tree planting projects with those three communities. Cohort 2 communities are Camden, Dillon, and Walterboro. We are at the tail end of the citywide planning efforts of those. Their open houses are scheduled for this fall, where we'll get that community feedback on the goals and strategies that the cities have come up with. And then we'll start doing some initial planting projects with them this winter and spring, with more to come the following fall of 2026. So these are just some examples of the types of maps that were produced for the communities. These are for Camden. This is their tree canopy and their potential planting area maps. So identifying where existing tree canopy is, and again, where there's opportunities for additional tree planting efforts in the community. And with the potential planting area, we worked with the committee to identify and exclude areas that were not really suitable for new trees to be added. Again, we are able to analyze canopy by different areas of interest. So these are two examples from Dillon, looking at every parcel within the town's boundary, and then also looking at the percent of tree canopy, existing tree canopy along all of their streets. And so this is additional information that can help us identify opportunity sites for additional tree planting efforts, or to inform strategies on maybe minimizing canopy loss in the future. These are some from Camden, other areas of interest. Camden was interested in looking at how much canopy coverage there are by some new subdivisions that are being built. And then Walterboro also was interested in looking at specifically commercial properties over 1 acre and how much canopy were on those commercial properties and what ways they could potentially partner with those property owners to add additional tree canopy. So these areas of interest are ways to inform further strategies going forward for each of the communities. We also use the ecosystem services data to help us inform where additional trees can be planted in the community. These are two examples from Kershaw. The map on the left shows the surface temperature in Kershaw in May of 2024. So how hot are places within the town, and where can we potentially plant trees to identify and mitigate some of that heat. The map on the right shows the best places for planting trees to mitigate and capture additional stormwater runoff. So the darker the orange or the red in the map, those are better plantable spots for infiltrating that stormwater into the ground rather than becoming surface runoff. So again, a way to kind of stratify and help us prioritize certain locations around different environmental impacts like heat or stormwater. We can also use this data to inform strategies around prioritizing lower income areas that also have less tree canopy. So pulling in that census data to identify low income neighborhoods or census blocks in this case, and then also correlating that with the existing tree canopy data. So in Darlington, for example, the committee end up identifying this southeast corner of the city as being a priority area because it tended to have lower median household income, and it tended to have lower tree canopy within those census block groups. So a lot of our planting projects are focused in parks and neighborhoods that are within these block groups within the city. So I know this is not South Carolina, but we're also doing this program in other states as well. And this is a visual of what the strategic tree canopy plan looks like. This is for the city of Petersburg, Virginia. Each community will receive a graphically laid out and typeset canopy plan that can be used for further tree planting efforts, public engagement activities, or other urban forest management. And again, this can be complementary to a lot of other planning efforts that communities are already doing or maybe planning to do in the future. So comprehensive plan updates like your natural resources or resiliency elements. If you have a parks master plan, stormwater master plan, walkability plans, resiliency plans, sustainability plans, etc. So there's a lot of ways to apply this data and this plan and the goal setting and the strategies that are developed in it to other efforts that you may have going on. And then we'll be planting trees in your community. So trees will be planted in each community based on the data, the planning, and the feedback that we get from the wider community. So we've already started doing tree planting projects at sites at various locations in the first two cohort, well, the first cohort and soon to be in the second cohort. We'll also be giving away trees and distributing them to residents through some tree giveaway programs. So for most communities, the majority of the land within their jurisdiction is in private property ownership. And so one of the strategies and one of the best ways to increase canopy in a community is to encourage people to plant trees on their own property. And tree giveaways are one strategy or avenue to achieve that end. So we'll also be hosting some tree giveaway events in partnership with the city and other partners to get those trees to residents so they can plant trees on their private property. So this is the general timeline. The application deadline is September 15th. Applications must be completed online by 5 p.m. If you're sending in a paper application, we also need to receive that in by that September 15th deadline. Then we'll review all applications that we've received, score those points. We may follow up with some additional questions or clarification about an application. But we hope to make a notification of outcome this fall in October, ideally. So that way that you all can get out your letters of commitment back to us within 20 days so that we can aim to begin the project in early 2026 for that third cohort. And in that early stages, we'll be establishing those stakeholder committees in partnership with the city and developing press release materials to announce the project and hold those kickoff meetings. Then in the spring and summer of 2026, we'll be in kind of the thick of the phase 1 citywide planning efforts. So we'll be mapping the tree canopy in those potential planting areas. We'll be doing that code audit research. We'll be evaluating those ecosystem service benefits, and we'll be starting that community outreach and engaging with the wider community around trees in your city or town. So if you're interested in getting help for your community, maybe you want it to be more shaded, you want to be better prepared for storms, maybe you've lost some trees from recent storms, maybe you have stormwater issues, or you just want to create more healthy and equitable communities, definitely reach out and apply for this program. There's a lot of services that are being provided, and of course there's trees that will be planted in your community. So there's a lot of wins here for you all if you're interested. So for additional information about this program, of course, ask now on this informational webinar, but you can also reach out to Marsha and Tom, and they can help answer any additional questions you all may have about the program or specific types of services. Or if you need to reach out and request that paper application, they can also provide that to you all as well. So I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions or comments that have come up in the chat as I've gone through the slides. Karen?
Thanks, Matt. The only question that we had so far was, are counties eligible for this program? I did respond they are not eligible for this particular program. It's really designed for cities and towns. But I did note that usually we're able to offer a technical assistance program. So we hope that we'll be able to offer that again later on this year. And we do have a category for counties to participate. So it's a little different than this program. It doesn't include us planting trees, but it's a lot of good support and mapping and advice and planning with you. So And for all of you on this webinar, we will let you know about that as well, because as Matt let you know today, this is a competitive application. And so there's quite a few communities on this webinar right now, but we won't be able to give the support to everybody. So it is competitive, put your best foot forward. But if you don't win in this round, then there's also the potential to get some technical support later on this year.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you were able to not get in this round for this support, you can get additional technical support this fall. Or if you happen to be a community that has a population less than 20,000, that technical support program Karen mentioned is another avenue to receive potentially some of these services through that program.
Okay, Matt, then we've had another couple questions come in just now, so let me pose them to you. Can we look up the existing tree cover percent that you have for our community? I don't, it's from Susan Patelli, but I'm not sure which community that would be.
Yes, so the National Land Cover data set has the tree canopy cover data that you can view. I don't believe that you can, you'd have to be able to clip it in GIS by your jurisdictional boundary to understand how much of the land cover data set for tree canopy is in your jurisdiction. If you send us your community, I can look in we have a spreadsheet of all the communities in South Carolina about their tree canopy percentages based on that land cover data set. I can tell you, what that says as far as your percentages.
Yes, and then also we will, for the communities who win this support, we will be mapping your tree canopy, so you will get that. If you don't know your tree canopy, that's fine. You can just say, we don't know, we haven't ever mapped it before. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that national land cover data set, the tree canopy is only mapped at 30 meter by 30 meter pixels. So the mapping that GIC will be doing during this program will be mapping the canopy at a 1 meter by 1 meter pixel. So much higher resolution than the 30 meter that the national land cover data set uses. So much better quality data.
Okay, and then we had another question, where can I find the application link to distribute? So that's in the presentation, I believe, and we'll send it out again.
Yes, well, if we send out the recording, we'll also send out the link as well, and then we'll also be sending out a copy of this slide deck, which will have the link embedded in it as well.
Absolutely. And then next question, are the community engagements, whether town meeting or relatively public, a cost the town or program would cover? So the cost to put on any community meetings, I think they're concerned about who's in charge of that. Is there a cost for that?
Typically, there's not a cost. Sometimes if there's most of the time the communities have been able to get us, like if we're tabling at a community festival or something like that, they're able to get us a free table to set up during that event. Or if they're already tabling at that community event, then we kind of piggyback off of their table. For the open houses, we're usually able to find free venue spaces to host those community meetings at. So we really kind of are able to tap into the resources in that community to find those spaces or events that are minimal costs for us to be able to do that public engagement.
Okay, yeah, so it really shouldn't be a cost for the community. GIC staff come and run those events, so it's really not, we're trying to make this easy for everybody, a low entry fee. There's no real cost for you all, except like Matt said, showing up, right? There's still a cost for your staff time to participate, but you'll get a lot of free consulting out of that, not to mention actual trees growing in your community. So those are all the questions I had online. Matt, let me go and see if there's any hands raised. So for everyone here, if you don't want to type a question, or if you're a terrible typer like me, you can raise your hand and ask your question aloud and I'll unmute you. So Viola just says, thanks y'all. And I see nope, no more questions so far. I'm just seeing if anyone has a raised hand. And for all of you, if you remember, everyone's pretty trained up in this now, but you just click on that little hand icon and it will let us know to unmute you and give you a chance to ask aloud. Matt, is there anything else you want to emphasize while I'm just checking to see if anyone has questions?
Yeah, maybe
Charlene,
just look.
go ahead.
Okay.
Charlene
Okay.
had her hand raised, so I am going to unmute you. So
Hey, y'all,
Charlene,
thank
I
you so
sent you.
much.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to know, like, do you have where you've planted quantity-wise the largest number of trees? Like, are we talking hundreds of trees? What's the idea here as far as replacing canopy and stuff?
Yeah, so this program, we have funding to plant hundreds of trees in communities. So we have quite a bit of tree funding to get trees planted. I mean, that's one of the major intents of this program, is to plant trees in communities that have low canopy and have the greatest need. So yeah, there will be a lot of trees that will either be planted physically or be given away to residents to plant on their properties.
Okay, great.
Right. And Matt, you and Tom and Marcia will be using these maps that we generate to see where those gaps are. And sometimes it's surprising. A neighborhood feels green driving around, but when you really start looking at the data, you realize that canopy might be much lower. Or your trees could be getting old, right? Like you have a lot of older canopy trees and they look great, like this tree in this picture, but some of them might be reaching the end of their life cycle. So you still might plant trees in a well-treed neighborhood if they're real old, because yeah. All right, I see Roy has his hand up. So I'm going to go ahead and go ahead.
How do you go about dealing with South Carolina DOT planting trees in the South Carolina DOT right of way? We had hundreds of trees planned for a grant here when the Inflation Reduction Act first came out, and we were awarded a grant, but we were unable to proceed due to South Carolina DOT not approving our encroachment permits.
Yeah, so far we've really prioritized more sites than we have within right-of-ways. So really prioritizing parks and school sites for planting efforts in the first cohort of communities. And there's been a lot of need at those locations as far as community spaces. So we've really prioritized those locations. But yes, it can be a challenging issue with being able to deal with the encroachment in the right of ways with trees. So we'll continue to kind of work with the Forestry Commission and DOT on ways to maybe resolve some of those issues going forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we feel your pain. We've been trying to work at the state level with SCDOT to try to shake them loose, but we'll see. It's a difficult battle. So next
I understand.
question. Yeah, sure. We're sorry. We'll keep
No
working.
worries.
We'll keep running at it.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have a question in the question chat panel. Shia Davies asks, where do you get all your trees, Matt?
Yes, so we get them from a kind of a variety of different nurseries, some in state, some in North Carolina. So I think our latest batch that we've ordered comes from a nursery in North Carolina. So fairly regional. And when we can, we try to purchase as locally as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom also tries to visit nurseries and check the stock and make sure it's good quality. So we're handling that, and we can work with you if there's particular types of trees that you want that are hardy and we think will survive. We can try to source those. So we try to meet the needs of your local community. All right, so I'm not seeing anything else in the chat. Let's do one last check for any hands raised. All right, looks like we have gotten through all of them. Just to emphasize again for everyone, the survey really doesn't take very long to go through the application survey. It's really just asking you a series of questions so we can understand your need. Tell us why this is important to you. Make sure you write some compelling reasons why you'd like to be chosen. And yeah, find 25 minutes in your day and get it done. It's just very simple to take it, and we instantaneously receive your application. All right, so with that, thanks everyone. Matt will just check the recording to make sure its quality is good, and we'll send you a copy of the recording and this entire slide deck. So this can be rewatched anytime if you want to share this with other people in your community or your leadership. And if you have any questions, be sure to follow up with Marcia and Tom. Their contact information is also in this slide deck, which we will be sending to all of you in the next 24 hours.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing your applications. And yeah, have a great rest of your week.
Okay,
Thank
thanks
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.